Hi everyone, I'm Nicole xstitch. Today is January 22nd, 2023, and this is Flosstube number 2. As of today, I have stitched 146,797 stitches since I started stitching in 2020. First of all, I just want to start out by saying thank you to everybody who watched my first video. I've honestly been blown away by the number of views and subscribers I've got just by introducing myself and showing some of my whips. So thank you to everybody who watched and subscribed and commented. It was so lovely to get introduced to a little bit of a broader stitching community, and I can't wait to keep talking to you guys and to meet more people and to just continue this journey. So thank you so much. This is going to be kind of a normal Flosstube, or what I think most people do for Flosstube. And I've decided that what I want to do is start with finishes, then whips, any updates I have, plans, tell you about any purchases I've had, and every once in a while I might throw in a little bit of an extra part. This week I'm excited to share some of the people that I watch on YouTube for Flosstube all the time, in case you might not have heard of them before, or if you have and we watch some of the same people. So I don't have any new finishes this week, but I do have some whip updates. This week I worked on 2 different whips. The first one, let's see here. The first one was Lighthouse Day, which is a pattern from Tiny Modernist, and it comes as a set of 4 different lighthouse patterns, so this is just one of them. So here's where I am so far, and next to it right here I'll try to put in where I was last time. I've made a lot of good progress on this one. It is stitched 2/1 full cross on 18 count white Aida. Let's see what the other details are. I can't remember everything off the top of my head. I started this on January 11th, 2023, and currently I am 54% complete. So it has 2,565 stitches in total, and I'm about 54% through that. So I'm hoping I can finish it by the end of January, but who knows? I never know how much stitching time I'm gonna get on this. This is normally my buzz project, but this weekend I took it with me to my partner's house, so I got a little bit more stitching time on it than I normally would. I also, let's see, so far since I started it, I have spent 10 days stitching on it. And I'll talk a little bit more about my daily stitch tracker in a bit. Cool, so that's Lighthouse Day by Tiny Modernist. The other whip work in progress that I worked on is Hidden Harbor. It is a pattern from Heaven and Earth's design, and the original artist is Andy Russell. I forgot to mention this last time, but I'm actually doing the color expansion Hidden Harbor, not just the normal pattern. So the normal pattern has like, I think 90-ish colors or something like that. The color expansion has 150 colors, and I decided to just full send it because the mock-ups on the website, I thought that the color expansion looked a lot more vibrant, and I thought that looked really cool. So I decided to do the color expansion version. This pattern has 135,150 stitches in it in total, and I am currently 4.62% done. So here's what it looks like now. Sorry, it's in a Q-snap and it's in my frame. This is a Kay's Creations Z frame. I like it a lot. I use it to stitch on my lap, on the couch, and it helps with my posture and everything. So that's the progress on this one so far. Let me see if I can also put in where it was last time. It might be a little bit hard to see the changes, but I finished this dark blue over here, and I'm starting to fill in these gaps with the little orange clouds that are there. I also forgot to mention last time, so I ended up putting it down in the comments, but I was inspired to start this project by another YouTuber named Julie Nicely. She's a college student who also cross stitches. I feel kind of like I understand her struggle because she talks a lot about how she doesn't get as much stitching time as she wishes she had because she's a student and it takes a lot of time. I totally feel that being in grad school. I really like her videos though, and when she started this project and showed it, it was like the first heaven and earth design pattern that really spoke to me. And I knew, even though I was in the middle of another big full coverage piece, that this was going to be the next one I would start. So I'm really excited that I've gotten to start it now. I'm stitching it 2/1 half stitch. So I'll show it again in case you didn't catch that it was half stitch and you want to see what that looks like. This is on 25 count easy count Lugana. I love having the grid in there. It's super helpful for stitching full coverage. And I think the coverage with 2/1 half stitch on 25 count is pretty good. Probably if I were going to do it again, I would do a 2/1 half stitch on 28 count, but I don't mind it too much. And like I said, I'm currently 4.62% into it. My whip go goal for this piece for January, because it was called in January, was to get to 5%. So I'm pretty sure I can hit that by the end of the month. And I'm really excited about the amount of progress I've gotten on that one. Doing it in half stitch goes so much faster than doing full cross. I started that one on January 2nd, 2023. And since then I have stitched on it for 15 days. So 15 days of stitching has gotten me almost to 5%. Alrighty. So those are the only whips that I've worked on. This is pretty normal for me. I have like one big piece that I work on at home, and then a smaller piece that's easier to travel with that I can take on my commute, take to my partner's house, take on trips, things like that. Both of those pieces, I forgot to mention, are done completely with DMC. I actually finally own the complete DMC 6-stranded flosses. Just the solid colors, not all of the fancy variations, you know, the multicolored ones or the metallics or any of that, but all of the solid colors I own. Also, because I own the whole kit, what I decided to do with my Heaven and Earth design this time was, rather than pull out the 150 colors for the color expansion and keep them separately, which would have taken like 2 boxes, you know, the normal floss boxes that you keep bobbins in, I bobbinated my entire set of DMC, which took a lot of time, but I think is totally worth it. It's so easy to find everything now. And I kind of like the ability for me to just toss some bobbins into a little bag and take them wherever I need them. So instead of putting all those bobbins into a couple boxes and having to carry all those boxes out with me every time I wanted to work on my Hidden Harbor Heaven and Earth design, what I do is I'm actually using one of these cool little, one of these little stitching stands. It has slots that you can stand your bobbins up in, and it also has this little magnet where you can stick your needle. And what I'll do is I'll just look at my pattern, and I'll do this on my pattern keeper, but I'll look at my pattern and I'll see like what areas are empty that I'm trying to fill in, where I'm going to work next. And I'll go ahead and see what color those symbols are, and I'll pull out enough colors to fill up this rack normally and stitch with those for a bit. And then if I have stitched enough, like have finished one color, it's not going to come up again for like the next page or so. I'll put that color back and grab a new one. So this has been working really well for me. It might not work for everybody, but I prefer it so that I can keep my whole set of DMC in my storage primarily and not have to carry a bunch of boxes of floss around, since there's so many colors in this one. Okay, if you watched my first Flosstube, which I can also link in the cards up here, I'm not actually sure which side it's on, so hopefully it'll be up in the cards on one of the sides. If you watched my Flosstube last time, you might remember that I was struggling with my pattern keeper because I had been using it with an Android emulator on my Mac, and then updated my Mac to a new Mac OS. And then that emulator, it was called BlueStacks, wasn't working on my Mac anymore, so I wasn't able to use Pattern Keeper for about a week, which was a huge bummer at the time, but I've managed to fix this problem. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to fix it on my computer, so I decided to just make the change to using a tablet to run my pattern keeper. So luckily, my partner's younger sister had an Amazon Fire tablet. This is the Amazon Fire 8 sitting around that she wasn't using, and I bought it from her, and now I have Pattern Keeper again. So I'll show you what it looks like if you're curious. You do have to do a bit of like a little bit of hacking to get Pattern Keeper to run nicely on an Amazon Fire, but it's working great so far. I have all the patterns that I'm working on. I did have to manually put in my progress on each of them because I didn't export the progress. I didn't know that my BlueStacks and my Pattern Keeper was going to stop working when I updated my laptop, so I didn't have the foresight to actually export my progress on any of those, which was a big bummer. But it's working great now. It took like a night to put in all that progress. You can do it horizontally or vertically, but I like to do it horizontally. And I have this nice case that she sent me with it that allows you to prop it up and stand it up so you can look at it. I'm so happy that I have my Pattern Keeper back. It's so much easier to stitch on my Heaven and Earth design, and it was worth the cost. These tablets aren't too terribly expensive, so it wasn't the end of the world for me. And like I said, it took a little bit of hacking, so if you have an Amazon Fire tablet and you're curious how to get Pattern Keeper on it, basically the problem is that Amazon has a specific app store that comes pre-installed on these tablets, and they don't have the Google Play Store already downloaded, nor can you download the Google Play Store from that Amazon App Store. So the hack that you have to do is to manually download the Google Play Store so that you can download Pattern Keeper from the Google Play Store. And there's a lot of online tutorials for doing that. It basically comes down to finding a reputable source to get these 4 files from, downloading them, and then opening them in a particular order, restarting your tablet, and then the Google Play Store is just magically there and you can download what you need. And it works really well on these tablets because they're already running on like Android, an Android OS. It's just like kind of a special version for Amazon. So it doesn't really mess up the tablet, nor is it like a big hack. You're not like, I don't really know all the technical terms, but you're not like booting it or anything. So that wasn't too much of a problem. If you're curious or you can't figure it out and you have questions, feel free to drop those in the comments below. I can try to link you to sources that do that, or that show you how to get Pattern Keeper running on your Amazon Fire tablet. Or if you Google it, there's a lot of great resources as well. Awesome, so yay, I have Pattern Keeper back. The other thing I've been starting to do lately, as you can probably tell from my intro, I'm a stickler for tracking things. And I finally bit the bullet and really started tracking everything for all of my cross-stitch patterns, which included a daily tracker that I started doing. So this is what my daily tracker looks like. Hopefully you can see that all right. Basically, I've decided to do this on a monthly basis where I write down the projects that I've worked on that month. If I have any starts or finishes, I mark that in the daily tracker, and I fill in a square every day I work on a project. It doesn't matter how many how many stitches I stitched that day. If I picked it up and I put at least 1 stitch in it, it gets marked on the tracker. And this just lets me count up how many days I've worked on a project in a month or at any given time. And I think it would kind of be fun when I finish projects, especially some of those bigger ones, to know how many stitching days it took me, as well as knowing the start and the finish dates. So those are some new things that I've started to track. Most of the tracking I do digitally in a big Excel sheet, but this I just thought would be nice to do in a notebook so that I can just fill it out at the end of the day and not have to, you know, turn on my computer and open my huge spreadsheet that has all of my other information in it, like names of the patterns, designers, number of stitches, fabric count, floss, types of stitching, who I made it for, when I started it, when I finished it, if I've finished it, how I finished it, and whether or not I've gotten a good photo of that. So I don't want to open that every night. It's a lot to look at, and instead I'm just tracking my daily stitching that way. And I've decided that every week as kind of my intro, what I'll do is I'll tell you obviously the date and the episode of my Flosstube that it is, but also the total number of stitches I've stitched in my lifetime since I started cross-stitching. And from now on, I also want to include the number of stitches I've stitched since the previous time I filmed a Flosstube video. I think it will be kind of just a fun way to see my stitching journey and keep track of the progress, because it's really, it's motivating to me to see how many stitches I've stitched and to know that I've gotten that much time put into my favorite hobby. So that's what I'm doing to track. My plans for the next, my plans until the end of January are to continue working on my Heaven and Earth Design Hidden Harbor and my Tiny Modernist Lighthouse Day. I'm hoping that I can finish the lighthouse and start a new bus project in February, but if I don't finish it, no big deal. I'll just keep working on it until I do. And with the Heaven and Earth Design, again, I'm trying to get to 5%. I'm pretty sure I'll finish that Whip Go goal by the end of the month, which is how I like to finish my goals. I count on time as finishing them in the month that they're called. And then in February, or in a couple days, when Jessie Marie releases the next Whip Go calls, I'll know what my plans are for February. So I'll keep you updated on what the plans are after that. I actually have a purchases section to share with you this time. It's nothing too crazy, but I think it's fun to share your purchases. I finally got to get down to Thread Needle Street again, which is always a treat to get to go there. It's a bit of a drive from me. It takes like 30 to 40 minutes to get there depending on traffic. But I roped my lovely housemate into coming with me. We're very good friends, and we've been living together since we moved to Seattle, so almost 3 years now. And I got her into stitching, I'm not sure when, maybe 6 months or a year ago. So I got her into cross-stitching, which has been really fun because now we spend our chill evenings after our PhD work, after our long days of research and classes and teaching and all of that. We spend the evenings together watching some TV show and cross-stitching. So we went down to Threadneedle Street, which is the closest LNS to me, and I grabbed a couple things that I'd been needing. Nothing too exciting for the first couple, but I grabbed some more 25 count Lugana. This is a favorite of mine for stitching smaller things that I want to put in hoops. I have a kind of ongoing project right now where I've been stitching a lot of moths and butterflies, and I want to kind of hang them all in a collage on the wall one day. And I stitched them all on 25 count Lugana so far, so I needed some more of that so I could keep that project going. If you're curious to see which ones I've stitched so far, I am planning for next week to record and upload a finish parade of everything I finished since I started stitching back in 2020, and I'm super excited to share all of that with you guys. So stay tuned for that one, because you'll basically be entirely caught up on all of the stitching I've ever done in my life, which I think will be really cool. The other thing I grabbed was some 18 count black Aida. I don't like to stitch on black too much because it is kind of finicky. I need, really good light. But there are some products that just look so much better on black, so I needed a little bit of that for some of the things on my Whip Go board for the rest of the year. And then the last thing is what I think is the most exciting. So this is some 28 count natural linen. I have never stitched on natural, but I've seen a ton of people stitch on it before. And this, plus these lovely colors, so these are Threadworks overdyed flosses, are going to be what I use for the Unexpected Visitors pattern by Night Spirit Studios, and I can pop a picture of that in here. So this is what I'm using. That is the mock-up stitch, and I just wanted some flosses for this that had a little bit more variegation in them than just DMC. I've never used Threadworks before, so I'm excited to try it. These skeins are massive. They're 20-yard skeins, so there's no way I'm going to use that all for this because I'm going to stitch it 1/1 full cross on 28 count. I've decided I want it to be like really little when it's finished. I think it'll be like 4 inches by 5 inches that way. So anyway, I'm excited to start this project. I don't know when I'm going to start it. It's on my whip go, so whenever it gets called, I will start it. But I'm really excited to have those things. And that trip to Threadneedle Street allowed me to be sure that I had all of the supplies I would need to stitch everything on my whip go this year. So I'm basically prepared no matter what the calls are. And that's kind of a relief for me. Okay, so the last thing that I wanted to share today, it's kind of a special segment. Since I'm new to Flosstube, I thought it would be fun to share some of the people that I've watched since I started stitching. These Flosstubers are ultimately the people who helped me get up the courage to film Flosstubes myself. Watching all of their videos is always such a treat, and I really enjoy watching Flosstube while I stitch. Sometimes I do it while I'm getting ready in the mornings too. Or eating breakfast. I watch a ton of Flosstube, so these people really help me get up the courage and get excited to film some of my own stitching. So these are just in alphabetical order by channel names. The first is Ymir from AlmondMnMs, who is also a lovely floss dyer. Her flosses are gorgeous, and I haven't gotten to get my hand on any of her hand-dyed silks, but I'm looking for like a really good big monochromatic piece that I can do in one of her really beautiful variegated colors. I'm thinking maybe like an ink circles or a long dog samplers might be nice. But one day, Ymir, I'm gonna buy some of your silk, and I'm really excited for when that day comes. Also, Dee from Dee's 20 Stitches, they're an awesome stitcher and designer. They design a lot of really beautiful patterns with Dee and Kari. So definitely check out Dee if you haven't seen their designs or their Flosstube. They do a lot of awesome stuff. I also watch Brenda from Handworkmaniac. She has so many incredible projects going all the time. I don't know how she has the time to stitch as much as she does, but it's always so fun to watch her Flosstubes because she always has so many updates to give and so much progress. So Brenda at Handworkmaniac. I also have watched imogenXstitch. Unfortunately, they haven't posted videos for a while, but I really enjoyed Imogen's video. So Imogen, if you're out there, please post a new video. We miss you. If you want to post a new video, we'd love to watch it, I'm sure. I also watch Jen Lee, Quirks and Stitches. Jen Lee is the creator of 24 Hours of CrossStitch, if you've ever heard of that. I think it's always really fun to watch her and her mom stitching when they do their 24 Hours of CrossStitch weekends. I've never participated myself. I don't usually have the time to do so, unfortunately, but I think it's a really cool idea for people who want to get some really big chunks of stitching time in. I also watch Jessie Marie Does Stuff, the creator of WhipGo. WhipGo is so awesome. I love how it helps me plan my stitching, and Jessie's videos are really awesome. So take a look at Jessie Marie Does Stuff, especially if you're looking to get started with WhipGo. A new Flosstuber that I just started watching, who just started posting videos around the same time I did, is Johnnie Saxon. He's an Australian Flosstuber who, like I said, is also new to Flosstube and really took off right from the start. Honestly, I totally get why, because he has a really just like bubbly, friendly personality, and it comes across in his videos really clearly. So I'm really looking forward to him posting another video, hopefully sometime soon. But if you want to get in at the ground floor with Johnnie Saxon, I would highly recommend it. Also, I mentioned her before, but Julie Nicely, who's also a college student, she's the one who got me hooked on the Heaven and Earth Design Hidden Harbor. So Julie Nicely's videos are really awesome, and she does a lot of beautiful full coverage pieces. Another cross-stitcher I watch is Stephanie lindystitches. She's a designer. She designs a lot of really cool bird patterns, so if you're into birds, definitely go to lindystitches to find some cool bird patterns. I have yet to actually stitch any Lindy Stitches patterns myself yet, but I have my eye on a couple of them, so hopefully sometime soon I'll get to those. And then the lovely, lovely Michelle Bendy Stitchy. Michelle is also a designer and posts Flosstubes every week, and I'm not gonna lie, whenever she posts a video, it's like the first thing I go to watch. I've always just really enjoyed watching her, and I really enjoy a lot of the projects she's working on, so it's just a good time. She's a go-to for me. The first cross-stitcher I think I ever watched, her name is Rachel Ray. She, I think, started mostly as a diamond painter, and that's actually how I caught her videos. I've never actually diamond painted, but it was like something I came across on YouTube and was like, oh, this is so mesmerizing. It's just like fun to watch and hear about. And then that led me to her Flosstube, which kind of led me down the entire rabbit hole to cross-stitching in the first place. So Rachel Ray, thank you for getting me into this hobby. Your videos are awesome. I always enjoy them. We also have Man Darcy. Such a quirky YouTuber, always fun to watch, always something new and funny and exciting to talk about. He also is a designer, so he has a few things out on Etsy. Man Darcy is also the person who convinced me that I needed to just bite the bullet and buy an entire DMC set, bobbinate them all, throw them into floss boxes in numerical order, and then just have that whole kit to pull from for whatever I needed. And that honestly has been a really great thing for me. He recently got his whole stash of DMC together too, and it seems like he's really been liking it as well. So I would highly recommend, if you're knee deep in stitching and you've got, like, you know, you've got your foot in the door with DMC, to, as you can, collect the entire set, find a way you like to store it so that you can access all the colors and they're organized really well, and just have that. It's such a good resource. It makes kitting up a project and starting something 110 times easier, and I really like it. And then the last person I want to mention is Vika from Vika Space. She is in the UK, I believe, but actually technically not a cross-stitcher. She's an embroidery artist and designer, and I haven't gotten to show these yet. I can try to throw a picture in here of the kinds of things she designed, but as I stitched them. So these are some of the things that I have stitched from her. I really love her designs. I think they're super beautiful and they're the kind of like nature art that I want to hang up in my house. So if you're a cross-stitcher and you haven't tried embroidery, or you're curious about trying embroidery, I would totally recommend Vika's patterns as a good starting point for embroidery, because it's all satin stitch. It's very simple. It's nice and meditative, just like cross-stitching is, and I find it's a nice break from cross-stitching every once in a while. So I'll pull out one of her patterns when I'm feeling like I need to change it up. It's also fun because I've stitched most of her patterns. You can stitch them with 6-stranded cotton depending on the fabric you're using. Sorry, 6-stranded DMC, but I've actually been stitching mine with DMC pearl cotton number 5, I believe, and it's also fun to get my hands on some different types of floss. So those are all the people that I watch all the time and that I have been watching for the last couple of years since I started stitching. Let me know down below in the comments if there's anyone else you would recommend I start watching. I'm always open to new suggestions. And I hope to see you guys next week. My plan, which I'm really hoping I can pull off, is to film a whole finished parade. It'll probably be a much longer video than these last two have, so stick around for that. Hit subscribe if you want to watch that so that you can see it in your feed when I post it, and you'll get to see everything I've ever stitched in my life, which is something like 44 projects, so I think it'll be a fun video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again here soon. Have a great week. Bye-bye.